Oh yeah. Also, and about okay, let's rock
Ah,
away. So
let's go. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the Irish Iron podcast. Uh, Thank you all for the feedback on the last one with Carlos Sullivan, and I've gotten a good few messages from a few of the boys and a few of the people who've been listening to the last one about this one. So today I have Ian McGarry on up in Sligo. How are you doing, buddy?
how's it going, man? How you keeping? Good, good. Yeah. Trying to survive this COVID-19 scenario that's going on right now. But
As a
I've loads of
self-employed,
time to get things done, so I can't complain. Can't
no.
complain.
No. I mean, as a business owner, like, have you switched all your clients to online? Like, have you just been helping them through socials and stuff
But
like that?
yeah, put it this way. You always have a certain number of clients, and anyone who kind of runs a facility, like we do, just private one-to-one training. We don't do group training. It's all fully private one-to-one. And so along with that comes the fact that it's very tailored training, and a lot of our clients will come for the I suppose the personal aspect of it. So we are swap over a lot of them to online, but there's going to be, and there is a certain number of them that just like it doesn't really work for them. They just they want the in person thing, so they kind of drop off, and we're kind of seeing that. And this is the first time that I've ever had to do this. So in terms of having to switch them over, now
Yeah,
I have clients from Limerick. Used to have a gym in Limerick, so I started out, and I still have some of those clients regularly, like on as online clients. So I still have clients from 6 years ago, so that's a pretty good retention rate. But you've got to just try your best with kind of switching them over to online. Keep in touch with them, even if they don't want to switch over to online. It's not their thing, or they're just like not really pushed. You can kind of figure that out pretty quickly. If you're a good coach, you'll know, because you'll be staying in touch with them. If you are good at what you do, you'll be able to read them pretty well. You'll have a good kind of rapport with them, so you'll know, like, you need to know your clients individually, and what they need, because some of them aren't as super motivated as others. That's given, but you just have to try to come up with a solution for them. So like right now, you could bitch and moan and say, like, fucked. But you're not really, because there's still a lot you can do. Like, you have this, you have Zoom, you have WhatsApp, you have. The only problem is people don't have as much equipment, obviously. So you've got to try to convince them that, like, at home bodyweight workouts are really cool, because they get really bored. That's the only thing. They do get a bit bored, but and they are repetitive, because there's only so much you can do
yeah,
with very limited equipment. But that's, again, that's just the way it is. So you just have to try to find a way. And I always tell people as well, is that if you want something, you'll find a way. It doesn't matter. Like, isn't if I you're the same as well, I'm sure. If I didn't own the gym, like, my gym is literally a 50-meter walk from this apartment. I can literally walk right down the road across the corner, and the gym's there.
yeah,
And like, if I didn't have that, if it's a fully equipped gym, like, it's pretty much everything I need. Like, but if I didn't have that, I would still buy everything I need. I'd literally source anything I needed. I'd have sourced it weeks ago, and I'd have it here, and I'd clear space for it, and I'd make allowances for it. Um, Now, again, you would say, okay, well, right, you need money for that. Okay, well, I put money away for the last fucking how many years? Like, I think this kind of whole crisis thing is it's brought up it's brought it's brought up questions to light of the way people spend money, the way people value things as well. There's a lot of negatives from it, but there's a lot of lessons as well to learn from it. Just like the last recession, there was a lot of lessons learned in that last recession. I think people who are in the fitness industry have learned an awful lot of lessons, and some of them are hard lessons. But you can see, like yourself, you're recently qualified. Actually, recently qualified
yeah, man. I got
as a personal
qualified.
trainer. Yeah. So I
Got
mean,
qualified the first week of the last time. So every gym that I was
yeah,
looking at to work out of initially is gone. Like they're all off the table for the moment. There's no online
yeah,
application. So all I've been doing is I've just been doing a bit of networking I to be honest, like I have a few gyms that I'll be looking
Yeah,
at, but obviously the end goal is to set up something like yourself because I don't
yeah,
look. I don't like the online stuff. I never have. I like having every person I've helped has been through face-to-face interaction and given them something specific,
yeah,
tailored to them, and like
yeah,
that's why I got into it. It was just bad timing. So I'm kind of just
yeah.
I'm just sitting on me. But that's why
You
I'm doing
could
this, man. That's why I'm doing this.
you could say that. You could look here. You could say bad timing, or you could say really good timing.
Yeah, that's very true.
You could say really good timing. You could say that now you have the time to learn about how to like do some graphics,
Yeah,
how to research on marketing,
yeah.
get a website going, have a podcast, which you're doing now. Like I mean, like you've kind of taken the bull by the horns in a lot of ways, and that like you're promoting yourself actively, you know. So it no, I wouldn't say. I'd say good and bad, Owen. I'd say good and bad. There's positives. You have time in your hands now, so time is great. Like you'll get so busy at some stage. Like I was so busy before this happened that I was literally, you know, like saying, "Be careful what you wish for."
Yeah.
I wish for time. I wish for time off, and I've got plenty of it now.
I,
So I was working into the ground, working myself into the ground. So I mean, uh, in a lot of ways, I am partly thankful for this. It's an extended break,
I'm
but you
taking
know,
holiday, man. I'm taking it as a welcome break. Let the body heal up, and again, like I am, as you said, like once I have enough content, I'm gonna make a little website for this, and I
yeah,
probably will tie it into training, but eventually I'm filling my days up, and it's grand. And look, at the end of the day, once this lockdown is done, the amount of people that are going to be
yeah,
so grateful just to
oh
be
yeah,
able to go to a gym is going to be phenomenal. So
yeah.
I think like people will be eager. I think people will be
It's going to be huge. Yeah, it's going to be huge. There's
so.
going to be a huge upsurge. There'll be a huge upsurge in gym memberships, in people joining up clubs, and
Oh yeah, I think
going
like
to gig live concerts, everything like that. When it does come around, it'll take a long time, but there'll be a huge upsurge.
oh yeah, and
Definitely.
even with the shows, man, they're going to be stacked because everyone who was in a prep,
Yeah.
like I'm kind of happy I didn't prep. But like I had a few, obviously you knew people, I knew people who did, and I was like, look, it's not the end of the world. At the end of the day,
Mm.
it's you're gonna be upset at the time, but like I mean, you realize, look, there's bigger things at play here, and I look if it came down to it, look, it gives you're gonna look better the next time around. But yeah, no, there's definitely a positive to it. It's just waiting for the positives to be enabled. But I think the problem is so many people are looking at the news and they're looking at like all the negative things. They're not focusing on like
Yeah.
what can be.
Yeah.
I mean, you're spending time with your family. You're able to do things you didn't have time for before, and like
You're healthy.
you're not spending money because there's
Yeah.
I like obviously like you're everyone's entitled to some form of income. I mean, if you don't have a job because of this, you're entitled to something, and
Of course, sure. Yeah.
rents have been freezed, and like it's the whole world. It's not just
Yeah.
one thing. Look, there's so many positives, but at the end of the day, man, it's good and bad. But
Yeah.
let's get
But I think if you go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say like after this, I think as well, like all the October shows, all if they go ahead, touch wood, they're
I
gonna
don't think they will. I
you
don't
don't
think so.
you
No,
think it'll be
I
postponed?
don't think so. It's going to be
Yeah,
next year, mate. Yeah, I'm not a betting man, but I put money in it. They're not going to happen. Their September and October shows most likely won't happen because, and here's my reason behind that, is there's still going to be social distancing of some sort in place,
yeah,
even after, because the vaccine won't be available till early next year.
no,
So it means that they're going to have to adjust it. They're going to ease off on the what they have in place now, but there will be social distancing. So what you thought of as normal life won't come back for a long. It's going to be a long time. It's not going to be. I'd love to say it's going to be short, but like I'm not. I'm not going for the album shows now at all. I've
Oh,
just nipped that in the bud. Yeah,
well, look,
honestly,
I
there's
was going to do 2021 anyway, man. I wasn't gonna
yeah.
stop.
Owen, put it this way, right? Listen to this, right? So there's a lot of other factors. I was talking to someone there the other day about this. Um, you have a lot of factors involved. You have people are going to be broke. So the number of competitors who, especially like people who are in the fitness industry, because they don't save money. They're notorious for not saving money. I'm telling people all the time, save money. They
Oh
have no
yeah,
money saved. So they're broke. They're also as well. They haven't had a gym. They won't have a gym for if the gyms do open up. They won't open up till maybe July or August, so they won't have full access to the gym. So they won't get through their prep properly.
no,
Also, as well as the supply of anabolics is massively reduced right now.
yeah,
So they're going to be basically there's a lot of possible pitfalls that, and also as well the international shows. Who knows if Spain will open up its borders? Who like in Portugal, where all the international shows on, will flights be affected? Will accommodation in foreign countries be affected? And like I was planning on going to Spain at least once for competing in September, and that's not going to happen. That's definitely not going to. I just know it won't.
Imagine it
So
did.
I'm just erring.
Imagine it did. Like, wouldn't that just be crazy? It's like all the gyms are open in like look, probably it's all in the air. We can't say, but
Yeah,
like anything could happen, man. Like it could get worse. It could
yeah.
get. But at the end of the day, look, it's not the end of the world. It's just a pause. But that's it.
Personally though, I'd always err on for a lot of these things. Like I've been doing competitions since 2008,
Yeah.
and so that's what 12 years, and I would always say like that. Regardless, you're going to put like you should want to put 100% in, but
Oh yeah.
if there's uncertainty there, if there is uncertainty there, that could pull back a few percent of how much you really give to it. And even if it's subconsciously as well, it could be subconsciously. You have that thought in your head. So like, and there's a bit of anxiety that comes along with it too. So I'd rather say, okay, hold on, go next spring. The worst that can happen is you're better and you're bigger.
Oh,
It's like,
dude,
and you've more money.
spring is gonna be sick. I think spring,
I Oh, it's gonna be savage. It's gonna
oh
be savage.
like my whole idea with the podcast was I was gonna do what Irish Muscle did. I was gonna team up with one of the other lads, and we were gonna do a joint production. So we were gonna do the whole thing where we have a backdrop and
Yeah,
we interview the top three of each class, like the Irish Muscle used to do eight years ago.
yeah,
And we were gonna try, like, obviously depending how this all goes, like I think that would be that would be really good. But I'd like adding that to a really stacked show and getting everyone's gonna be there. It's gonna be great. But like you said, you started competing in 2008, right? How you were what, like
yeah.
quite young then, man? You must have been like
17,
7.
17. Yeah, 17.
And how
So
did you?
I came third out of three. That's last. So I was also the youngest one there. I was also the youngest person there.
Was that
Like
second?
the other,
Yeah.
no, and then second one then was with David Byrne actually, and I came third in that one. There was a few more that there was like I think there was 6, 7 in that,
Yeah.
and then it kind of built and built and built, and then I did NABA, came second in NABA juniors, and then I won an NABA juniors. I won an RBVF juniors. I came before I won the RBVF. Then before I won those, I came fucking second and third. I think I came second and third like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Literally, like I have so many seconds and thirds, and yeah, and then I came second in the novice then after the year after 2 years after doing the juniors, second in the novice, and Damien Corns beat me, and so he's a actually elite pro now, very good bodybuilder,
Yeah.
and then yeah, and then I had a few kind of years of placing not so great, like fifth and sixth spots in like NABA and RBF, kind of I was well, I did an under 90s, being in the middle of the weight class, with Christian and all them, they were like fifth and sixth spots, and then now I suppose we got it together, and uh, conditioning is not a problem at all. And it's actually not a case of effort or anything. It's actually more so that I did every single one of those preps. Like I've competed like 14 or 15 times,
Yeah, you prep
and
yourself, man.
I've been prepped. I prepped myself for every single show, like every single show up until last year.
Yeah,
So I mean, like you have people going on about like blah blah blah. But it's like, yeah, but I also as well, like I remind people, I wasn't living in Dublin. I wasn't surrounded by people who like knew a lot of bodybuilding. Like I had one or two people who were okay bodybuilders, but no like I didn't have a helping hand like a lot of people have or had. So I did it all literally on my own.
yeah.
And
I've
especially
been
even
very,
now,
I've
like
been very
I'm in
lucky.
Sligo now. There's no bodybuilders in Sligo. There's no bodybuilders. I'm literally the only I'm the only competitive male bodybuilder in Sligo. So literally the only one. So
What got you
so
started, man?
that's okay though.
I mean, like, what got you
Uh,
started? Because you were like, obviously, if there wasn't any bodybuilders, and you're in Sligo, like for me, with myself, like I look, I'm in back arse of nowhere in Wicklow.
yeah,
My exposure to bodybuilding was through the magazines, and it was Jay Cutler, man. I just wanted to look like,
yeah.
but it wasn't through anyone in person. I didn't know anybody. So like on your end, like what got
I did know, like, yeah, I know, yeah. Well, like, I did know, like, I okay, I put it this way. Like, I'm from Limerick, like, so I'm from Limerick originally, but
you?
I moved up here 5 years ago. But so like, I did have people like Sean Bowman. I did have like Blue Shinners, all them. They were around, but like, I wasn't getting helped by them as such. Um, but they were around, and there was, there was a lot of like, there was actually a lot of bodybuilders in Limerick. There still is, but there was a lot. But
Limerick was great.
I, they weren't as hands on as people as a lot of the Dublin guys would be. They just yeah, you had a hand, but you didn't have. I know it's hard to explain. You didn't have as much of a direct mentor as such. But like there was a lot of really good bodybuilders who were like always around.
Absolutely.
But I got into it when I got into it when I was six. I think I was 16. And I did like so I originally weight trained for Olympic lifting and for sport. It was more for sports training, like plyometrics, Olympic lifting, all that kind of stuff. So I was taught properly. I also people I was taught properly how to lift weights. I was actually like, if a young person came to me and said, "Okay, I want to get trained, how should I get into it?" And I'd be like, "All right, so they get pissed off me because I tell them, okay, you can lift the barbell, but not no more than the barbell for the first 4 months.
Yeah,
Just the barbell. You must start with the broomstick for the first month. You're not lift anything more than a broomstick for the first month.
yeah,
They get pissed off and
yeah.
frustrated, but like it makes you a really good lifter. Um, and I think like people ask me like about form and stuff, and I always go back to that, like the mobility work and the exercises that we were given that year. It was a full year of it. Um, that it's literally to this day, I still do those same exercises. Like I still preach those same basic exercises, raises, pull ups, um, hanging leg raises to the ceiling. It's like Bulgarian split squats, Olympic squats. I don't do clean and jerk or snatch, obviously, but I mean, I learned how to do them a long time ago. But like all that kind of the stuff that you don't need very fancy equipment for, I was doing back then. I still do now. Um, it was just really good form as well. So I got into it like that, and then one of my best friends was competing at the time. You're not in it long enough to know who he is, but a lot of people would know who he is. Kevin O'Callaghan is his name. He was doing juniors and he won everything. So he won RBF, he won NABA. He actually was the only junior one of the years. I think it was 2007. He was the only junior. He like had a classic physique basically. He had a very good classic physique, and he was only like 17. So he's 17 years old, and he could squat like 240 kilos, and he was natural. And he could dunk a basketball as well. 6'2". But he was so good that he went up and did the novice NABA as a 17-year-old, and he did really well. And he did very very well actually. So I mean, I got into I suppose more bodybuilding, competing through him. So like I got into competing with him. So because we were like literally spent every day together, like after school or whatever. So that's how I kind of got into competing. And yeah, he kind of dropped off, and he got an injury not related to bodybuilding, but he had a severe injury when he was in Australia. So he kind of dropped out of bodybuilding, and but when he was doing it, he won everything. He couldn't be beaten. Literally every like he didn't get beaten once. He did I think 4 or 5 shows. But again, that's so far back now that unless you were back then, like
No,
Tommy
that
might
was
remember him, or
before my
no,
time. Like,
there's
that was way before.
a select few. It's before your time, yeah. It's just
Yeah.
before I started as well. So that's how I got into competing. But yeah, it's 12. It's been 12 years. Like yeah, it's funny. It's been 12 years, but I would consider myself only getting good in the last 2.
And you really
What I consider as really good. I think I'm really good. I think I'm really good now, but it's been took 10 years to get there. Like
takes time. But it's like there's no set time on when you can peak. I mean, some people peak really early. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like you remember my friend Aaron, like with the legs.
yeah, of course, yeah,
He peaked at 16. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? He peaked at 16. And he was my exposure to bodybuilding because we trained in the same gym. So when I got started out,
yeah,
I actually started a prep when I was 17 years old. I never actually competed, but I
yeah,
ended up doing it when I was 18. But it was through him and Christian that I kind of learned. They kind of
yeah.
helped me, and you know what? I somehow managed to scrape 4th place. Like,
I remember, yeah, I remember you
oh
competing. I remember you did your first show. I remember.
yeah, I came 7th in the RBBF. But NABA was the one where I did well, and then I
Yeah,
stepped away for 2 years and came back third, and 5th
yeah,
in the UK. And but I mean, those were the days when you had like 21. I think there was 21 juniors back then. It was crazy.
yeah, yeah.
21.
You big numbers.
You'd be lucky.
Before,
You'd be lucky to get 4 now.
but you
So
know why that is, though. You know why that is.
oh
It's
yeah,
because it's nothing to do with. It's nothing to do with. It's less popular. It's just people have switched divisions. That's all it is.
yeah,
It's that those younger guys. It's now. Here's where people get offended. It's easier to men's physique.
I agree with you. I'm gonna say
Sorry, but it is. It is. It
I
is
think
easier.
God-given structure, like your frame. You don't
Yeah,
necessarily have to be in Ireland. You don't have to be necessarily big for it. I
yeah.
mean, obviously the cream of the crop are going to rise to the top. I mean, like Josh Coyle,
Oh, there. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
all them guys.
But
But
it's same for bodybuilding though. You know, it's like there's a huge gap between entry level and elite guys, and like hats off to like top level physique competitors.
yeah,
If they had the shorter, they'd be like they're very impressive. Like
a
they're
lot of
very impressive,
classic,
top to bottom,
a lot of them
very impressive. Like it's
classic.
a class look, you know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like like
Yeah,
like I mean,
yeah,
the guys who go to classic, I think the problem with my take on classic is look. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people here anyway, they think it's just because you can make a weight cut off that you're going to be a good
yeah.
classic guy. I mean,
No, it doesn't mean that. That's not what it means. Yeah, at all.
it's the look. It's the look entirely.
Yeah,
You're not going to be outmassing people, so it's about the shape and the structure. A lot of young guys are going to classic, and I think that's great. I love it. I love classic. I would never
yeah.
do it, but I love it.
Now would I? I'm
Uh,
not built for it either at all. At all.
it's a lot.
Uh, I'm like a bastardized version, like an in between version, but I'm not classic. It's a weird one. I don't have the shape of a classic bodybuilder, but I don't have the size of a big open. So I'm okay with doing like under 90, bodybuilding for a while for the foreseeable future because like I know you probably do as well. Like for your frame, you have to be realistic as well, right? There's a few things. This actually comes up a lot with people asking you how big can they get or whatever, and like it's genetics, it's your frame, it's what you're willing to do as well.
Yeah,
Like, are you like realistically like okay? Put it this way: if someone said to me, they had a person who this is hypothetical now, hypothetical person, and they said, I want to get as big as you can make me. It's actually very easy to do. It's actually quite easy to do.
it's easy to put on
If you
weight.
give someone 18 months, right? And you say, okay, you don't give a shit about your health. Oh, it's very easy to do.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
like
yeah.
that is really not difficult at all.
I think
And you know, as well as I know, like, you know, like it can be done, but there's the price can be huge. And you might not, like, I find as well is that the older you get, like I'm 30 this year, and I find that as you get older and get more mature,
yeah.
you start realizing, okay, I think a lot of it too is like, you know where this kind of you're being realistic with yourself. You know what the ceiling is. Like you're not gonna like you may surprise me, but like I'm not gonna be competing in it yet. I'm probably not ever gonna go pro. I may by fluke, but probably not. Um, you know, I've got to be realistic of, I want to enjoy bodybuilding. I want to be as competitive as I can be, and as good as I can be at it. But the main thing is enjoy it, because no one pays me to do this. This isn't actually my job. It promotes what I do as a job.
Yeah.
But like, I'm becoming less and less like attached, like as in, that's probably the best way to put it, less and less attached with my ego and bodybuilding. Because I mean, when you're younger, when you're in your early 20s, your ego is so big, you end up attaching a lot of your identity and everything with
Oh my.
bodybuilding.
I was a proper
Um,
I was tense when I was a kid, right? I remember going
yeah,
into shows and I was like, yeah, I'm the only people who are gonna beat me are gonna be. That's exactly what happened. So I got my ass fed to me. But at the end of the day, I think look, I don't think it's unhealthy to have confidence. I just think there's a big fine line between having an ego and then confidence and arrogance as well.
yeah, yeah,
And like there's no point being arrogant if you can't back it up. So I think it's like arrogance turns into confidence when you back it up. So there's a fine line between it. And I think absolutely, like, I mean, I'm 25 now. When I'm on stage, I'll be 26. Still young
yeah,
as hell. Like, so I'm like,
yeah.
well, when I did my first open show, I came third. I got qualified for the PCA finals. I was delighted. And then I came last and last and last after that. So I was like, oh shit. But I realized at the end of the day, look, it's a long game. It's not, it's like, unless you're blessing or somebody, like,
Yeah.
you're not. I mean, you have the pros. We do have Shane Cullen. We do have Vinny. We do have the NABA pros. But like in terms
Mm.
of IFBB pros, even those guys aren't making money from it. I mean, I know
No,
Shane's. I mean, like,
no, still have normal jobs.
yeah. I mean, like, Blessing's the only guy
If
who's
you
left.
still have, if you still have your, yeah, but you know what that is, Owen. It's not because he's very good. It's because he's funny.
Yeah, he's just any you can watch him. He's just
That's
entertaining.
that's that is the that is one of the main selling points, is that he's entertaining. He's different.
And he
He can
just
take
has a
he
deadly
can slag
physique
himself.
as well. So
And the fact that he can slag himself,
yeah,
that's what really helped him be
yeah,
different from the rest, because he's a very good bodybuilder.
yeah,
But you like the average person doesn't give a shit about bodybuilding. They think we're as weird as it gets. And
oh, yeah. I
if
mean,
the average person can look at Blessing and be like, oh my god, it's awful. But the fact that he can joke about it makes him more relatable,
yeah,
because he's entertaining you. He's not being the stereotypical bodybuilder. He's just being entertaining. He's being funny. So that's his niche, and that's how he ended up making a lot of money. Because obviously he also has a physique as well. But there's not many of those people around. So for a lot of us, it is a hobby. It's always going to be a hobby. Love it, but I actually it's like, if you look at in Ireland, we have GAA. Those guys don't get paid. They
no,
train an awful lot, and they travel literally all week. They might travel 20, 30 miles to training and back, multiple nights a week in the fucking piss and rain, and they give up a lot. They don't get paid. Someone else makes money, but they don't get paid. Reminds you of anything?
oh yeah,
Federations
great,
make money.
oh
They don't
yeah,
pay us. we're like,
They don't forget they like to ban you as well from other federations.
yeah.
Like,
So I
right?
mean,
It's
you can't
quite
forget that though. Like, you
yeah,
can't forget that. Is that like, and with the other thing too is with federations, like in the past, I would have erred on the side of, oh, don't upset so and so, don't say such and such, don't like upset the apple cart thing because you don't want to get in trouble because like it's like mommy and daddy. It's like
yeah,
you can just fuck off to another federation.
yeah,
If they're being dickheads, just
yeah,
fuck off.
yeah.
Because what's gonna happen is they're gonna have no competitors,
No,
which is happening to some federations now.
yeah. I
People are
mean,
people are just pissing off.
see, I mean that's why I like this is just my take on it. I mean, like in terms of what's in Ireland, like if I was like a up and coming amateur and I wanted a first experience of a show, I'd say do a PCA show. I mean, they're so well run. I mean, everyone's really friendly and the shows are quite packed as well.
Hmm.
Then my like in terms of NABA, I feel NABA is the best amateur one. That's just my opinion. With the universe ties, like I love that. Like I mean, the average person doesn't
Yeah,
know, but if you say, "Oh, I'm going to the Mr. Universe," that's pretty cool to say. I mean, like that's not like not everyone gets to say that. And
they know what it is. Yeah, they
they,
know what it is.
yeah, oh yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, the RBBF is great. I do love it. But I think it's a weird one. I mean, back when it was tied to the IFBB and we had the guest posers and everything, my God, it was great. It was great. I think that split it's affected it badly. But as far as I know, I think it's the Bowmans who are tied to the muscle contest anyway. So I don't think they're too put out by it really. So but the muscle contest is phenomenal, man. I watched you compete, and I was like, it's so well ran. And then the pros came on, and I think that's the show to do if you're aiming for a high standard in the country. That's the one to do because you're gonna have all those international freaks coming over.
yeah. Um, there's the most contest is extremely, extremely well run. Like it is very professional. The staging is very good. They have simple things like bottles of water, like fucking bananas, like fucking things
Yeah,
like they've things catered to. Like the weigh-in process is very simple. Sign-ups for photographs, for video, all that stuff. All the stuff gets released, to the website. The quality, like the photographer is the same guy. He's the fucking American. Like, it's
yeah,
Mannion. He's the same guy who does all the NPC shows in America. You get
yeah,
really good quality photos. You get the lighting is excellent.
yeah,
It's just I like of all the shows I've done a lot. From like 14. Um, that is by far the most enjoyable one I ever did.
yeah.
And like obviously as well, like there was other things involved in that too that made it really enjoyable. But
Yeah,
that
let's
was like,
delve into that actually. That was the first show
yeah,
you worked with Billy with. So
yeah, it was, yeah,
how did you start with Billy? Because Billy, like you've known Billy, I've known Billy for years. Like we've known, like I competed against him there, and he won. He looked phenomenal. And I
yeah.
still be in touch with him. How did you? What made you say, you know what? I'm gonna get a coach after all those years of doing it yourself, and you did okay. You
Yeah,
grand. You didn't come in out of shape, but I remember seeing you
yeah,
on the muscle contest, and I was falling asleep while I was watching the show. But I watched the air class and I was like, oh shit, Ian bought it. You bought it. I wasn't there for the RBBF or anything. I think I was competing
yeah,
that well. I think where I was working. But
yeah,
how has that experience been, man, with Billy? I mean, how's it been?
yeah. So I've known Billy. I think I've known Billy for 7 or 8, maybe 7 years or something like that. A long time. Kind of through like backstage and ABBA. He's always there. Or I can't remember where I first met him, actually, to be honest. I met him at a few shows as well. He came down to a few RBF shows over the years, and then just through online as well. But I know him a long time. But I was going up to Derry, like I've lived in Sligo for nearly 5 years now, but I would go up to Derry a lot for training, and I go to Pro Gym quite a bit actually, and 2 hours drive, and I actually stay up in Derry. So I do this thing you probably do too, where you go on a little trip and then you end up like staying for a weekend and training in a gym that weekend.
I
So
love
like
I do
I
that.
love that.
I did that to Limerick.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good crack. Like I love that. So yeah, like I was chatting initially to Dave Fox because I did a show. I did an ABBA show, and I remember they were just there. I was told by a few people, like shape and everything else and fullness and everything was really good, and maybe won that show. There was like a what you call it, a WFF show, and he won that. I came, I think, sixth in that one, and my conditioning was good, but it wasn't razor sharp. I was kind of more, it was more a fuller look, but it wasn't as. I was dry enough, but it wasn't as crisp. But then, yeah, Paul Byrne basically was kind of hinting a few things towards me, and then yeah, like a year later, a year and a half later, whatever it was, 2 years later, myself and Billy ended up linking up because I'd been chatting to him an awful lot, and I had gone through my options as well of like, basically, I'm around this a long time, and I know everyone who coaches people, and I know everyone who's had every type of coach and every coach you can imagine. I've heard the good and the bad and the ugly about every coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some coaching as well, like there's only a handful of people, and I mean that, a handful of people that I would go to in this country. It's about five. It's about five coaches I would even consider. I won't name them because but there's about five, and I personally wouldn't go for a coach that was in the UK or in the States. That's my own preference because I always want to be have a hands-on approach and have your coach see you in person. But that's just me. Like, and I think, like, I coach a lot of people. I prep an awful lot of people. I have prepped dozens, I think 30 odd people for shows in the last 10 years, and I have seen nearly all of them in person. And if you have to travel, they travel. But like, that's my whole thing of personally me not wanting a coach in the UK or America. And I think a lot of people jump the gun and they go for a coach in the UK, and it's a fucking disaster. And I've seen it happen a lot, an awful lot. Like, because they won't. It just, there's a breakdown, because I think if you're in person with someone, you develop rapport with someone, and especially for a coach-client relationship, like seeing the coach in person makes an awful lot of difference too. It pushes you a lot harder as well. And like I trained with Billy, a good bit as well, and his training style would be different to my training style. It's just the setup is different, and then the tempos are different as well. So he'd be very explosive on his positive portions, like very very explosive in general, and then some of the volumes might be higher. So the rep counts be like 15, 20 reps sets, So, but again, nothing super duper fancy. Very methodical and very high intensity. So it's not a million miles away from what I do. It's just slight tweaks in it. And there was, like, again, certain exercises where kind of him being a good coach, he kind of assess, weak areas and say, like, okay, we need to swap this out, and add in this. It's very specific exercises to bring up certain things. And it's worked really well so far, actually. Everywhere that I had to improve and add in certain exercises has come up, like my arms have grown an awful lot since I've been with Billy, like, because literally just adjusting some exercises, especially my triceps, like my triceps had come up an awful lot, and they've come up a lot. And yeah, and delts as well was still a big thing for me. I have a really big chest. I have a very, very, very big chest, and I also have, like, and so, like, because of that, then my delts look small. They're not small, but they look smaller than they actually are, because just at a, like, proportion wise, they're always playing catch up with my chest. So that was a big thing, is medial and front delts. But yeah, like he taught me an awful lot. Like, I mean, like, again, as I said, like, I've been around the block an awful lot. I've trained with a lot of people. Like, I trained alongside Kai Green, and trained, like, in Limerick, trained with like the top bodybuilders in this country, and the UK as well. Like, and it's like trained with pretty fucking knowledgeable people, and taking a lot from those people. But like, again, there's always more you can learn. Like, so, it's I also people it's good to have a second eye, right? Because like, I obviously don't have one here in Sligo, because I am the only one of the people I do. I'm the only person doing it. So it's even more important for me to have a second eye. And I think the reason why we get on so well is that, like, there's no bullshit at all about that man. He is straight up as they come, and he'll hurt your feelings if he has to hurt your feelings, kind of that way. And like, he'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And it's a reality check for you. An awful lot of it is a reality check, because especially when you get towards the latter stages of prep, and you're a few weeks out, like you're like 3 weeks out or so, like that prep I did there, like I had to make weight twice for that, and I had to make under 80 kilos for that twice, for the muscle contest in RBF. And I'm not an under 80 kilo bodybuilder by any means. So like, I was
like, you're a bit taller than me.
I'm 5'9", yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fuck that, man. Like, I mean, I got under 80 kilos. I was okay with it, but like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah, rough.
For me to make that 80, like, for me to make that 80 kilos was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. Like, I did it twice, but that was like, I can't even describe how difficult that was, because I woke up the morning of the muscle contest, and I was like 82, and this is I used diuretics as well,
Yeah,
for 2 days before that.
yeah.
And I was on like zero carb as well, right? I was on zero carb, very little food, and I was like 82.5 that morning. That's with diuretics.
Yeah.
That morning. So like, I had like, I think it was 2.5 or 2.6 kg. But I was already had been drying out, and I already, like, I had depleted the tank right down. Like, that was the morning of that, like the morning of the weigh-ins. Or sorry, the weigh-ins was the day before. So that was the morning of the weigh-ins. The weigh-ins were at 6 p.m. So I had like 9 hours to drop that weight. It might have been more. It might have been 3 kg. I can't even remember. I must look back in the text. But it was a lot of weight. And it was so much weight that, like, it was very like touch and go, will I make it? So I had to like literally drink nothing for the day, like literally sip on water till my mouth's wet, and no food. And
Oh shit.
I had to keep using diuretics, and also end up doing intervals in the sauna for 2 hours. So, and I literally could only get access to the sauna that evening. So I got access to the sauna about 3 p.m. and the weigh-ins like 6 or 7 p.m.
Not to
So I
get like what the carb up.
85 kilos on stage.
Okay, so paid off in
So
the end.
85 the next day. Oh, it paid off. Oh, it paid off. It really paid off. But again, if I was there doing that on my own, like, and I was just kind of like, I would think to myself, that's impossible. But
Yeah,
again, if you have someone there who's kind of keeping you level-headed, that's where a good coach comes in, because you can know everything, but you do need assurance, and you need, like, even the biggest experts in the world in their field always need to confer with other experts, with their peers. That goes on in every field in the world. It goes on in medicine, it goes on in engineering, it goes on everywhere. You always need to refer out to someone just to get assurance on something. So that's where, like, mentally that really helps. So I was 85 on stage, and I end up I did the under 80s, won that, and then went to the overall. And the overall, there was guy from Turkey, a guy from Spain, and a guy he's from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
the
the pro.
Ole, yeah, Ole
Yeah.
Krivy is the guy who won the overall, and
Yeah.
he's Ukrainian. And
He was
Ole
like
was
94 kilos, man. He was
yeah,
94 kilos.
and and he's 5'4". He's 5'4" at a push, I'd say. But like he could have, no joke. I don't know if you were there, yeah.
I
He
was
could have
there.
done. He could have competed in the pros
I
and
think he would have
possibly
won.
won that.
I
I
think
think he would have won it.
he was
I
in
think he
better,
would have won it. Yeah.
better condition.
Um,
You know?
yeah, I think he would have. To be honest, I think he would have won in the pros the same day if they let him. But the same guy ended up doing his first pro show like 3 weeks later, and then won that and beat
Yeah.
Ricardo Correa and a few really good guys, and then went on to the Olympia. So I mean, like, it's kind of cool because like I competed for a pro card against the guy who ended up competing in the Olympia that same year. It's pretty fucking cool.
Like that
Pretty
guy.
cool.
Like, no, I agree with you 100% on the coaching and having the second eye. I mean, at least my experience with that is I prepped myself as a junior and I actually managed to pull it off well enough.
Yeah.
But then what happened was I started working with Christian again.
Yeah.
Like, he helped me for my first show. I did my second shot as junior on my own. And then I worked with Christian for my first show of 2019, and that was my best result. Now I think
Yeah.
the way me and him worked, it was like it was simple enough. Like, obviously I'm not going to go into mad detail with what we did and took and ate and all that crack.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't too mad, but I think the problem was my body reacted a lot differently to the way we both thought it would. Like, as I get leaner, I'd be quite carb. Like, when I'm like really lean, if I touch a carb, I hold like a fuck ton of water. It's a no go. So I looked
Yeah.
really good, and this is happening throughout 2019. I looked quite good up until around 2 weeks out. So for the Belfast show when I came third, I think I was a good enough look. It got me the result I
Yeah.
wanted, the qualification. But then when I prepped myself for October, for the first two October shows again, I felt confident going into it. I had Tommy look at me, Tommy Staunton looked at me in the gym like 3 weeks out, and he was like, keep doing what you're doing. Of course, me being me, I overcomplicate things like
Yeah.
and that's what fucked me up. And I remember when I literally tucked my tail between my legs after NABA and said, Tommy, help me for PCA finals. And like, that was the driest look I've had, full stop. Like, I could have lost a bit more body fat, but it was mainly just the glutes. Everything else was in, and I was delighted. Like, there was no nerves, there was nothing. The anxiety didn't kick in and hold water. And it was the second eye for sure. That was crazy. And I didn't carve up for that at all. It was literally just a mild diuretic and then just zero carbs basically, and then just before I went
Yeah.
to stage, had a burger, and that was it. Simple as. And I think like it was a similar situation to yourself with Billy. I think it's just having that second eye. I mean, like I'd be very close to Christian, and like he's always had Brian have a look at him, or he has somebody have a look at him, or
Yeah.
the only a very few handful of people in this country that have managed to bring condition without and bring condition. Like, it's easy to bring it. I don't think it's hard to get in shape. I think it's hard to not fuck up on the day, because like I have the worst nerves when it comes to that situation. I just overthink. I made a
I think
bollocks.
we all do. I think we all do. We all overthink. That's the problem. We all overthink because you're in such a fragile state anyway when you get to that point that in your head that the slightest thing could fuck it up, and it's that you're trying to protect yourself, so you're trying to give yourself the best chance.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You're kind of your own worst enemy when you're at that peak point, because most people will admit that they've done preps where they overshot it. They just jumped the gun on, and it's often diuretics. It's actually often diuretics, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
And
100%.
yeah, for you, it's diuretics. No, it's diuretics for you. Because no, they just don't have the experience, and also as well as every prep you do, and Tommy and anyone else would kind of attest to this, is that every prep you do is very different. You can write down in a journal, like I have journals there. I have them somewhere in this house, and literally I have everything written down that I did as far as training, nutrition, every prep I did, almost every prep. I think I have like 8 or 9 preps written in it, and they're very different.
Yeah,
Like the last prep I did was very different, and also how you come in. And you probably noticed this, maybe you haven't yet, but definitely as you go to work, like through your 20s, like I'm training since I was 15, 16, but when you get lean, for example, where you get lean from first changes. So like,
dude,
and also in your,
my legs
yeah,
are in condition now, and I'm like, this is
yeah,
the thing ever.
yeah, you used to have chunky legs, yeah,
Yeah,
um, yeah, like, so. I mean, it's weird because that's kind of a hormonal thing. Kind of muscle maturity thing. It's strange. Distribution of body fat changes, and there's a couple of factors that come into it, but like where you get lean from dramatically changes. Like I have striated glutes literally right now. I squeeze my arse cheeks; they're striated. Like,
crazy.
um, no joke, no joke. But I mean, like, I'll hold, like, I've always held in the off season body fat through my abs. But what I notice is, like, I now, for example, will get really, my legs are always lean, but like my legs are just always like very,
Yeah,
very,
your
very, like,
quads
they're
always
very lean. Like,
striation,
yeah,
like,
yeah, like my legs are very lean right now, and I'm deep into the off season. But I mean, I would normally get very lean on, for example, my legs, and then my back, and
yeah,
then my arms, and then my abs be the last. That should be the slowest part. Whereas now my abs will come in really fast. My abs come in very, very fast. My
yeah.
arms, my shoulders come fast. My back comes in last. It's just weird. My back, my lower back, mid and lower back come in last now. It's kind of strange. So like, that's one example. Another example is as well, like, carb sensitivity changes too. So like, people's sensitivity to carbs changes as they get older.
Yeah,
How much food they need to get leaner as well. So
yeah,
one thing I've noticed is, as people get older as well, they do need to, and this is for normal people as well in society. You need less food as you get older to maintain,
yeah.
but also, um, how much how low to go with your calories, because this is one thing that I kind of saw with Billy was, I wouldn't have taken my calories down as low as I brought them down, as they were brought down, um, and for as long as they were brought down. And I would naturally, and it's normal to naturally go, oh, that's too low. But you say, why is it too low? It's too low because you're on Instagram, and such is doing that, and that's low, and he says that's low. And every Tom, Dick, and Harry, everyone agrees that don't go below that, or don't eat this small amount of carbs or this amount of fats. Never bring your protein down below this. And that's a big mistake people make, is that, like, they follow the status quo, which is like, oh, that's just the rule, you don't do that. And in bodybuilding is very different to a lot of sports. There is no status quo. It's so different for everyone. That's why the coaching in bodybuilding is it's weird. That's why Chris Aceto does so well, because he's like a savant. He couldn't tell you why to do things. He just knows. And bodybuilding is that way because there's so much nuance to it. And, like, I brought my calories down ridiculous, and if I even told you, I'd be embarrassed to tell you how low it was. Bikini girl, like, levels, like, um, and but
I did that
again,
as well. I did that.
that's what had to be. That's what had to be done to get the condition I got.
Yeah.
And I didn't lose any muscle. I didn't lose any muscle. People always
That,
worry, oh, you'll lose muscle. You
that was
won't lose muscle.
fair, man. I mean, like, I learned, like, when I was in school, like, IPVF, I came in quite high. I was happy. I was hard cycle for that, man. I didn't actually do anything drastic. It was a
Mm,
very basic diet. Just carb cycled straight into it, and
yeah.
it looked quite good. And then I think the last show I did there, I'm definitely more carb sensitive now. Like, so I remember it was like,
As am I. As am I. Yeah. As am
yeah.
I. Definitely.
So it was like I went down. It wasn't keto. The fats were pretty much trace as well, but it was
Yeah. Mine was sweet high protein. Yeah.
yeah. And look, at the end of the day, I think my mental block. You're probably the same now. My mental block is gone. Where I used to be like, oh, I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna lose tissue. I'm gonna lose muscle.
No, Owen, your ego is gone.
Yeah, I was like,
Your ego.
you
That's
know,
that's it, spade
like
is spade. It's ego. Its ego is
yeah,
gone.
yeah,
You're a blank canvas now because your ego has lifted away, and
yeah,
that's what you get when you get mature.
yeah,
That's called maturity. That's just called maturity, you know. Um, but like that's like you see this, and I see it all the time. In the kind of coaching area, and this is specific to bodybuilding. And I'm gonna like, okay, bikini competitors, men's physique, whatever you want to call yourself. And if you will, let's just lump it under the guise of bodybuilding. Let's put it in, okay, because you're building your body, okay, whatever. When it comes to coaching, um, and I mean, I have heard every like you have as well, I'm sure, every thing that everyone has done, and it's come back to me. I've heard about it. Such and such person, this
I've heard
coach and that
the
coach and that,
I've heard the
and I don't care. I don't really give a shit anymore. But the other thing is too is that I've seen firsthand as well is that like because as I said there, people are so different. Just because your name is fucking I don't know Jennifer and you're a bikini competitor and you weigh 52 kg, if you have to for 2.5 weeks go down to 900 calories, that's okay. Like that, if that has to be done, it has to be done. Or if you have to do 2 hours cardio and X, Y, and Z, and you're crying, and you're giving out when your prep is done, that oh my god, I was like tortured by my coach and this and that and that and that. Now, okay, like I understand that there's okay, doing that for an entire prep wouldn't be good. But sometimes extreme measures have to be pulled for a limited time to get extreme results. And
yeah.
I think a lot of people who get into competing don't fully grasp that fucking concept that this is an extreme thing and you're getting an extreme result. So to get an extreme result, sometimes extreme measures are needed. And
Oh,
it's all well and good to say, oh yeah, we can eat chocolate, we can do IFYM and eat chocolate bars all the way up to the show, and we can do no cardio. And you've seen this before as well, I'm sure, of coaches going out and saying, oh, my clients don't do any cardio, and then they get to eat chocolate, and they're like, they're almost selling how easy their prep is. And I can guarantee you one thing: either they're lying, or that's just one person in the 30 people that they've coached. Because the other 29 were never in shape. They never show you the 29. They'll show you the one that's a freak of nature. So like, don't be fooled. That's a lot of it's bullshit. And the other thing too is like, there is no one size fits all like scenario. Just because your best mate might be prepping as well, and you're the same size and similar structure, and you're doing way more work, or perceived work than he is, and you're eating less than he is, um, that doesn't mean your coach is wrong or you're wrong. It means that look, that's what's needed for you in a lot of cases. It's just what you need to do. That's just tough shit. That's just tough shit. I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, like I think we probably. I know when I came in off, that was because look, look. People know I've cheated on my diet before in the past. I thought genetically I'd be able to get away with certain things, and obviously I didn't. But at the end of the day, like I've one client, I was actually prepping him, and I'm like, if the October, like as I said, if the shows are going ahead or not, like he'll be doing the next lot of shows. He's a junior.
Yeah.
He's like I've installed, like he comes from a powerlifting background, so what's deadly is he's kind of skipped that ego phase already and gone straight into like, what do we have to do to get results? And I'm like, dude, like I love that because he knows he has to suffer. and you don't see that in a lot of young guys. Like where I train in Raw in Dublin. There's no Tommy works out of there, but in terms of actual competitors, um, the other only competitor there is a genetic freak who doesn't diet hard. He's dieted for 4 weeks and he wins. So I'm just like, he doesn't work hard, but he's a genetic freak, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I think that the work ethic has kind of dropped a little bit. I don't think people want to work as hard. I think they want quick fixes. I think they want like instant gratification and I think a lot of them do it for Instagram. I'm not naming names now for out of respect for him, but I prepped somebody for NABA. He did men's physique.
Mhm.
Ego was so
Yeah.
bloody big that he stopped listening to what I was telling him halfway through the diet, but he only told me after the show. And I was like,
Yeah.
why the fuck didn't you tell me? I would have preferred you told me. You wouldn't have had to pay me, because he kept paying me. And I thought he was listening to what I was doing. But I kind of kept pushing it. I had to keep changing it because like, why isn't he getting leaner? Why isn't he improving as I want him to improve? Turned out he was completely doing his own thing. And I was just like that.
Yeah.
Didn't let him he didn't want that criticism. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like like after I competed in Galway, I asked Tommy, what did you think? And he shat all over me. But at the end of the day, I needed it. And I'm happy. I'd rather brutal honesty. So, I'm brutal with people too. So I think that's
Like I prefer my peers or people who are either on the same level as I am or are on a higher level than I am to be brutally honest,
yeah,
whether it's good or bad because it's constructive, than the fucking peanut gallery on Instagram who think, such and such celebrity is ripped and he's barely got barely got a six pack,
yeah,
Their definition of what's insane shape is very different. And yeah, it's lovely for people to say nice things about you. Great, well done. But no, if you really need that, you need to look again on why you're doing this. If that's what you need, if you just need like people to say, "Oh, you're fantastic, you're great," go on and do a NIFMA show. Jesus, I'm kidding. I get a lot of flack for that now. Yeah, if you want to just have people say you're brilliant all the time,
yeah,
just go do a fucking photo shoot. Then it's much easier. It's honestly easier. I think that's just a big thing. I if anyone's starting out and they have this any notions in their head, I'd always kind of err on the side of why are you doing it? Like why? Really why? Not like not don't be kidding yourself. Why do you want to do this? Because it's very difficult to do and it takes an awful lot. And there are some people who shouldn't do this as like anything. Some people are not suited to it. And I'm not going to go naming names because everyone knows what I'm talking about, but a certain bikini competitor who's gone on Instagram, who's slated how bad competing is and how awful it is and how it affects your mental health and blah, 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 and your
yeah,
physical health. And only to be coached by someone I know who did a very good job with them in terms of a prep and who's a very responsible coach as well and a very good coach. And I mean, it shits on them. It shits on them because they're
I know
actually the person was
exactly.
coached.
I know
Yeah,
exactly.
you know who I'm talking about.
I
Yeah,
know exactly what you're talking about. What
but that
great.
person has a big following. They have a big following, so
Yeah, yeah. What great.
a lot of people see this, and then their the perception the perception is skewed because they have such a big following that oh, that's the way it is, but that's not the way it is, and that's her experience. But I mean, I don't like when people tar everyone with the same brush and that okay, you have issues with the way you look and you have such and such coming into this didn't do that to you, and it doesn't do it to other people. It honestly does not do it to other people. Some people just, and again, especially for the female side of things, more so than the male, I think. It's just because they are under more pressure from society anyway and how they appear physically. Um, it can be detrimental to some people. But
Yeah,
if you are the type of person who is extremely self-conscious before you do this, this probably isn't for you. If you've had an eating disorder in the past, or if you've had psychological issues in the past, this
Yeah.
probably isn't for you.
100%.
It's just, and like that's just trying to help people in that, like, maybe you don't have to do this to prove yourself or to prove to other people or to yourself, that you can get past this, that you're a strong person. That isn't the marker, the benchmark for a strong person. And I think some people, for whatever reason, they get this notion in their head that I have to compete. You don't. That's okay too. You can just enjoy your training. So that's a big one. I'm always like, I never really go on record, talking about that stuff. But I mean, it's not for everyone, and that's okay. If it's not for you, that's okay. You don't need to fucking slate it. Like there's things I don't like doing. Like there's things like if you said to me, "Oh, this is the cool thing to do now," and everyone's doing it, and I just didn't like it, I'm not gonna shit in it. Someone else might like it. Someone else might enjoy it. It's like, that's okay. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all right. Like, and I think people get so caught up in their ego that they have to blame everyone else and not look at, okay, I made a mistake here. I made a mistake. And it's like, that shit drives me mad, because that's what's opened up now since bodybuilding and competing has been opened up to all the other categories. You have, and it's more accessible now to everyone else. What it took to compete before isn't the same as what it takes now. The entry level, the bar for entry is different now.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's not better or worse, but the bar for entry, the accessibility is different. And you have different levels of competition. You have, like, lower level, then they are lower levels, like Miami Pro and NIFMA, and then you have up into higher levels, and it gets higher and higher and higher. Like in all sports have that level, like martial arts, boxing, everything has levels. But if you didn't have a good experience, just the way you paint it, don't paint it like it's just all a shit show. It's like, it's like, that's your experience, but like, make clear that that's your experience, not like, that's the way they are. I've met some of the nicest people I've ever met doing bodybuilding. I've made friends, like lifelong friends, in bodybuilding. People who would do anything for you to help you out. Um, I've had, I've had bad experiences too, like, but the good experiences far outweigh that. And what I get from it is different from what maybe you get from it. Maybe it's the same, but like, my journey in this is my own, and yours is your own, and that's okay. Everyone's different, and I mean, like, not everyone has the same goal either. Some people want to become Mr. Olympia one day. Everyone wants that when they're 17, but then obviously it becomes, their goals change a little bit, or whatever. But it's everyone's own journey.
I'd be happy with a bloody national title. That's like this point.
That's kind of what I'm going for too. Is like to win an overall, and then maybe a top 3, or to win an international show. That's kind of my.
I mean, I've already competed internationally.
Oh, it's all right.
Yeah, it's been great, but it's like I was so far, like Jesus, the PCA, like the finals was like, my God, it was like light and day compared to what's over here anyway. It was just the best I've seen yet. And it makes you, but then I look at the pictures and I'm like, okay, I wasn't far off. It was more just, so I know it's achievable, because again, it's high level amateur. It's only high level amateur. It's not professional level stuff. But like yourself, and like, again, like, I I don't know what's gonna happen, like, in terms of, like, I'm hungry for it. I'm fucking hungry for it. But at the end of the day, I like yourself. I think the part of the reason I'm doing it as much as I want, because I know it carries over into the business side of things. I know it carries over into me wanting to help people be a better version of themselves. And like, I've tried everything on myself. I mean, like, in terms of, like, look, in terms of anabolic use, I definitely use less now than I did when I was like 20. Like, that's no secret. Like, that's, and I love it. I love being healthy. And I know, like, obviously there is the extreme bits, but I think, like, well, again, with social media, what I found is it gives everyone a voice, which is great. But the bad thing is, it gives everyone a voice. So you have
Yeah,
the people who shouldn't. I shouldn't isn't the right word, but like the person who shall not be named, who had a bad experience. Look, at the end of the day, I like that. That's on her being unable to cope with the situation. She put herself willingly into. Nobody forced you to do it. You did it yourself.
yeah,
I'm kind of like, at the end of the day, if you want to bitch and moan, look, you're entitled to your opinion. But at the end of the day, social media does not carry over onto the stage whatsoever.
no, there's
So
no points. You don't get points in social media that that you can carry onto stage. If you can't carry your Instagram profile header over the top of your head, say I have this many followers.
some people edit their pictures. Like, I remember there was
Yeah,
one physique guy, and like I will name and shame him because like it was quite fun. He doesn't do it anymore. VA Fitness, and I remember he's a lovely lad. Like, he's big. Like, he's a big natural Russian guy and big guy and good genetics, and he's photoshopping the bloody daylights out of his pictures. And then he did a show, the Galway show, and didn't place. And I'm kind of like, well, that's what you get because it does not transition. But here's what it is, man. Look, do you want to run
yeah.
through some questions anyway and blast them out and see?
Okay, yeah.
Get
I'll
in.
I'll, uh, I'll do it. I'll do a turbo on them. So cardio in the off season. How much do I do? How much do I recommend people doing? And should you do cardio in the off season? And there is a couple of ways going with that. I'll give you the easy answer: is you probably should do some cardio, right?
Yeah,
Um, Generally, for your cardiovascular health, for your heart, you should do cardio.
yeah,
For digestion, you should do cardio. Your food actually digests a lot better when you walk. So, what I would tell people is if they have the luxury of having a 5 minute walk, and Stan Efferding is big kind of proponent in this. He does these, I think they're 5 minute walks, but it does actually help. Is that you get peristalsis, you get moved in the stomach going. Is that if you take a 5 minute walk after your meals, after your bigger meals of the day, that you actually help an awful lot with digesting your food. So that's a simple thing, but they do add up. And I'd be telling people for in the off season, yeah, walk, and your training should be pretty high intensity anyway. So that's taken care of anaerobic kind of side of things. But I would tell everyone to do some form of cardio. As opposed to years ago, people would say, "What are you doing cardio in the off season?" You're only burning like a couple of hundred calories of food, like, so you can out eat that cardio in 2 seconds. But you're doing the
yeah,
cardio now. I think you should be doing the cardio for your heart health personally. That's your main goal. But then you have the other side of it is how lean someone looks. So I mean, how far above the bar they want to go with body fat, like, and that's down to the person, their coach, whatever. I personally don't think anyone should get too fat, but that's just me. Especially as they're go towards the later years of training, competing, because I think a lot of people put on an awful lot of weight early on in their training for competing. In their teens and their early 20s. That's fine, because a lot of the weight that they put on, they will add a lot of tissue, then a lot of muscle tissue. They add a lot of fat too. But as you get older and older and older, the how much actual muscle you put on as opposed to body fat, the ratio changes massively. So then you get into this whole thing of like, okay, how much fuel do I actually need to grow? And again, most people would say like 500-700 calories over maintenance is plenty for a lot of people. I would go a little bit higher. Even some people, I would say 1,000 calories above maintenance would be where I'd shoot for. You can build on that, but again, I would slowly build on that. So that's for cardio in the off season. If you're doing something else, like I'm in jiu-jitsu now a good few months now, and I do cardio for that. It's so you can spar basically, so you're not like a heat, just like out of breath.
yeah.
So fitness for that is obviously very important. So like I do a lot of cardio for that now, multiple times a week. So like I'm probably the fittest bodybuilder in Ireland, I'd say at this stage. I probably am. Outside the natural guys, I
Oh,
probably am the fittest.
yeah.
So like because, and again, that's because I'm doing something outside of bodybuilding now, that there's a requirement in that. But also as well, it feels good to have a decent level of fitness. Like I never wanted to get to that point where I was out of breath walking 50 meters on the street, and I know there are people like that, and that's not for me. Also as well, fat gain. Okay, someone's saying here, how much fat is acceptable basically in the off season in terms of body fat, and that's down to the individual again. Like I kind of covered that in the last question, but I would tell people what's realistic is, let's say you're competing 5 years, you're a male bodybuilder competing 5 years. Unless you're a genetic freak, it's most likely you'll put on, if you do well, 2 to 3 kg of muscle is really good. This is very, very, very good. So like that's your buffer. That's so let's say it's 2 kg. That's your buffer. You have a buffer of 2 kilos. That's if you did really well and added 2 kilos. And then for a prep, then I would say this is my preference would be that someone has 8 kgs of body fat to lose, roughly
Yeah,
8.
yeah.
So that's so then we have if we took their last stage weight, then we have 10 kilos. So 10 kilos above the last stage weight is a nice place to be. Now you can go, there's up or down, you can toggle a little bit from that, but that's just a ballpark. 10 kilos outside stage weight is about as high as you'd want to go. Because I've seen people like lose like 20 kg in a prep, like, and that is
Oh, I've done it.
disgraceful.
I have.
That's a disgrace. I'm sorry. That is a disgrace. That's ridiculous. Like,
Not up like
yeah,
yeah, plus it. Like my own taking those best
yeah.
cardio. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
and steps as well. Like, step count. Minimum people should be doing is 10,000 steps a day. That's just like that is like, I think, like brushing your teeth. You should do 10,000 steps a day. Like that is like
I should be a rep.
normal. That should be like as literally as normal as brushing your teeth and putting your socks
I
on.
mean, I used to meet that daily. I mean, with the cardio and all that, like from my
Yeah,
own experience, what I found is this. Um, I've been working on my feet all my life. So like I've never had a sit down job. I've always been active. So in terms of my step count, I always met that. In terms of cardio, the only time I added in more cardio, because I'm quite active anyway, was
yeah,
really just for the food. It was just to spark that digestion again, like you said earlier there. But again, no, I agree with you 100% on pretty much all of that. But like I wouldn't do more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'd go for a 20-minute walk every day and in the morning, and I just do
yeah,
that fast-paced walk to just spark it up, just get your body good to go. But like again, I think like I
yeah,
think it's tied into appetite. I think like if you're struggling with appetite, add in some cardio, you'll be able to eat more. I mean, it's simple as, I mean, like
yeah,
spark digestion. Um, I mean, it and again with how much fat to lose, I think it's some people gain and lose a lot of weight. It may not necessarily, like I gain a lot of
yeah.
water very fast,
It's
so
junk weight. Yeah,
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 so I drop that very fast. And then again, you get those individuals who struggle to put on any weight, and in that sense, I say to them, like if they're like a an ectomorphic kind of body, I say let's just put on a good, like let's just push the calories as high as we can, regards clean, like with a bit of junk food in there, and you can go down the rabbit hole on that for sure. But it's I think every individual is tailored very different. I mean, general ballpark, 10, 15 kilos. If you're getting to 20 kilos, you'll want to be able to be a bit, like if you're losing 20 kilos, you'll want to be a heavyweight bodybuilder to be able to lose
yeah.
20 kilos.
You need to have the frame. You need to have
Yeah,
a frame that's that big,
yeah,
uh, and also a frame that's so big that it's holding not 20 kilos of fat, but let's say
Water.
16 kilos of fat and 4 of
Yeah.
water. Because obviously the bigger the frame is, the more junk weight that they can hold, not necessarily fat, but yeah, it's like everyone's different with that one. But like, some coaches love to really hammer food until someone gets fat, basically. But like, there's a fine line, and if you're going to have a long off season, so like if you're going to have like a 2-year off season or even longer, it will be wise to do things in cycles rather than just do this kind of bro bulk for 2 years. Is to plan out, like I always, for my clients and for myself, is get a whiteboard out or get a piece of paper out, get a calendar out, and start planning everything out and cycle everything out. So that's for training, supplements, other supplements, and everything everything you're planning on doing. And give yourself a bit of off time as well. In that, if you need off time, whether it's even a week off, some people do need a week, like literally a week of doing nothing every once in a while, and that depends on other factors as well, as like stress and their job and how hard they train and how advanced they are as well. Like some people literally they need to sit down and plan things out a lot better. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes people make is that and I get a lot of questions about it, is that they don't have a plan. They're just like, okay, I'll just go now and just do this. And there's no goal set in between that in that time. They don't have like, I think personally, everyone should have like in the background have lifting goals. So like whatever sets of whatever, I want to get to this weight. I want to be able to move, whatever, deadlift 250 for 10 reps, whatever it is. And I think that should be like, that's part of the game, and it is a game. It's supposed to be fun, and so like setting those little goals in between, those should always be there, because that's like at the end of the day, like we are not just doing this because we want to get on stage in a little, man thong and have tan on like everyone thinks it is. There's also as well like we do this because we love to train, so you need to be able to enjoy it as well. And I think if you just get into this rut of like the same training all the time, the same food all the time, like that's why so many people disappear. Like, so I'm doing this 12 years. I have seen people come and go because they don't really enjoy it. They fall out of love with it, like, because they just don't. Their way of thinking isn't the same. It should be an evolutionary. It's a very evolutionary thing. Like when you started training, and I know from myself, the gym I went to was UL gym, and dumbbells go up to 70 kilos there. And this is 12 years ago. This is when there's probably like 3 gyms in the entire country that had dumbbells up to 70s, literally 2 or 3 in the entire country. There was about 1/4 of the amount of gyms as well that exist now. So, but even then, like I was looking at those 70s, and they were covered in dust from 50 kilos up to 70. They were all covered in dust, like caked in dust, because no one ever used them. And I always said to myself, like, this is when I was 16, that one day I will be able to lift those. And at the time, I could barely deadlift the fucking thing, like. Whereas now I can use those, and I mean, like that just took years, but I mean, that's the sense of progress, and that like there is always a sense of like I will get to there one day, and you have to have that in the background.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I'd agree with you as well. Like in terms of my own training, I mean, it would be, Jesus, I'd mix a high intensity, and it wouldn't be a huge volume component, huge volume guy, never have been. But
Neither have I.
I say that, but I do a lot of volume for legs, but it would be like I'd work up, like I'd always have my key exercises there that I like to progress in terms of strength. So I like knowing I can get under a bar and I can squat 4 plates for sets of 10, handy enough. But the only way I was able to get up to that now is by doing what you said, by planning it out and saying, okay, this session is going to be focused on this, and it's constant progression. I mean, I remember the first gym I saw that had 70s was Raw in town, and they were the old school
Yeah,
metal things. And
yeah,
I, I didn't go near any of those until like 3 years ago. It took,
yeah.
it took 7 years of training to get out there. So it took a long time, but I agree with all you said there. 100%. I can't. That's my method. That's my philosophy. So
That's the journey though of it, isn't it? That's like, that's to me, that's what's fun about it, is that it's a journey thing, and I like that it's like it's a long term thing. Like, and I'm like, you're the same as me. It's, you understand very much so that it's a very, like, it's a long term investment.
yeah,
And I mean, like I took up jiu-jitsu 4 months ago, and that for me, like, I love giving myself challenges, but like, that for me is something that I can see myself doing for the next 20, 30 years, like, because it's another thing where you're constantly, there is literally no end of learning. You cannot know everything about, it's like, I don't know if you know much about it, but like, it's literally one of the most complicated, uh, fun things. You have to use your mind, your brain is constantly working. It's physically challenging. It's like, but for me, like, I can compare it in a lot of ways to bodybuilding, because like, Jesus Christ, to get a black belt is the same as in jiu-jitsu, is like the equivalent of getting to the universe. It's like, that's
yeah.
how, and or winning the universe. Like, it's that much commitment.
I
It's
mean, I've
very
some
similar
friends.
in that way.
I've some friends who are high level. They'd be high level mixed martial art athletes, and like, look at the. I used to box. I used to do certain things like that, but I love combat sports. I love that kind of thing because I think there's a lot more. There's a lot to it. There is a lot to it, man. Like, I think, and I don't think there's any harm in adding it in, based on the fact that it's so good for your flexibility and it's so good for your range of motion and your joints. And
Right, it's incredible. Yeah,
like, when I did this for 2 years. I used to do wrestling training, so I used to want to be in the WWE. So what we had to do was we did a lot of grappling, we did a lot of choreographed moves, but we had to have really supple and flexible bodies. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to support people's bodies, weights, walk around with them. And I'd still take, like, what
yeah,
I've taken on is um the only injuries I've ever had are from stupidity, and it's usually been in the rebound part of preps. But when
yeah,
my joints and everything are healthy and everything, it's due to flexibility. It's maintaining full range of motion in everything I try to do.
yeah.
Um, like, like, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I agree with you there, man. Like, what's the next question there?
Oh, it's actually on mobility. So on the topic of mobility and stretching, and kind of what do I recommend, and I suppose, again, it's a big question. So like, everyone is different, and there's something to be realized as well, as that, okay, depending on what sport you do and what's required of your body, the level of flexibility and mobility is different. So what's needed is very different for different things. So like, if we're talking about bodybuilding and powerlifting, your muscles essentially need to be tight all the time. They actually do need to be tight all the time. They're in a constant, in on mode. Let's say they're constantly turned on all the time.